getting it kicked off with the NFC East, just ripping the Band-Aid right off from me, starting off with my division with the Dallas Cowboys. At the lowest totem pole, not the Dallas Cowboys, thank
Hey,
God.
you said him. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
No,
What's
no,
going on here?
no. I know. It's like we just talked about this. Starting off with the lowest totem pole, the New York Giants,
Who?
unfortunately, being at the bottom. Yeah, exactly. They actually pick up the 15th seed. That's just by strength of schedule by the record predictor that we're using. So not quite the lowest of the lowest for the NFC, but pretty damn close. They pick up one win, week 5 on the road in New Orleans. It's about the most beatable team that you can get. So I gave them the win there. Outside of that, it's just loss after loss. It's going to be a rough year for the Giants. Who did you have at that bottom seed for the NFC East?
I got the New York Giants coming in at 1-16, also picking up a
Yep.
week 5 win against the Saints. I don't care how much the media form is Jackson Dart, Jackson Dart, Jackson Dart. This team is gonna be awful. If you asked me to bet my life savings that they would come in last, I don't think I would make that bet just because we know parity in the NFL is crazy. And there's a
Yep.
pretty bad team out there in the AFC, even if they had the number 1 overall pick. But yeah, for this exercise, I just don't see the Giants. And that's even taking into consideration that you normally beat a division opponent somewhere. I think this is going to be a team. This is going to be a team that the Commanders, Eagles, and Cowboys look at as 2 must wins as they fight to be at the top of their division, and they're going to get their A game against the division opponents. So I don't see too many victories for the New York Giants. Sorry, New York. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go and you look at the roster too, and the changes that they've made and the people that they've brought in. I'm not pounding the table for Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart. Cam Scatabo is cool as a running back, but he's not making the difference out there.
Shout out Rio Linda.
Roy Robertson Harris at defensive tackle isn't making a difference. Paulson Adebo is a nice addition to the secondary. A young secondary, a young defense that could be talented. If this team wins more than 1 or 2 games, it's because of this defense. It's a talented defense. Drew Phillips, Deontay Banks, Javon Holland, Tyler Nubin, Paulson Adebo, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns. Dexter Lawrence. There's a lot of talent on the defense. If they win more than a handful of games, it's because of them. I just don't think that this offense is going to do enough to really push them past more than 1 or 2 wins out for this season.
Yeah, I do think there's that opportunity for Malik Neighbors to just go crazy. 9 catches for 210 yards and 3 touchdowns, because you see what he can do on the quick slants or the pop throws or whatever, and he might just put them on his back for 1 game. And if he does, I'm happy to be wrong and see an awesome performance out of him. But it's just based off of the schedule and what they have coming this year, I don't see it in the cards for the New York Giants.
Oh, I'm right there with you. So we're in lockstep to start. Not sure how much we're going to be in lockstep throughout this. I'm really curious because Drew and I usually never talk about this, but just getting back into it, we're really curious and try to gauge on where we were at. In the 3rd place for this division, 10th seed overall, missing the playoffs still, 9-8 is my Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
There's so many questions for this team, and I think what it comes down to mainly for me is the coaching. And that staff, I'm not putting my eggs in that basket, and I'm not a huge believer in it. The schedule can be a little bit rough, and I decided it was a couple wins here and there. At one point, I'm at it at 10-7, making the playoffs as the 7th seed. I ended up revising a lot of this stuff, going through it again, dropping them out, and hitting 9-8.
Yeah, so
Where did you?
I have the Cowboys coming in 9th in the conference, missing the playoffs clearly. I had them at 10-7. I think there's a lot of questions to be answered on what version of their big time players we're going to get this year. What version of Micah Parsons are we going to get? What are the cornerbacks going to look at like? They have both, they have been prestigious in their ability, but they've also had down years as well. So what does that look like? And what kind of Dak Prescott do we get ultimately is going to be the key to this. He has a near MVP season a couple years ago. Then last year he gets injured and your season's over halfway through it. And to be honest with you, there is a very funny narrative rolling around out there about these wide receivers that get traded away from Pittsburgh and how they absolutely implode their teams. We can talk about Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant, Deontay Johnson. The list goes on. And I'm not exactly sure that what George Pickens brought to the table last year, albeit a crazy quarterback situation for him, I'm just not sure if he moves the table more than what you guys already had at your number 2 spot last year. So we'll see. Obviously 10
Yeah,
wins is a good record, and one or two of those tip the other way and you're looking at the playoffs. So it'll be an interesting
sure.
season for certain for the NFL's highest paid quarterback.
I'm curious to see where we kind of differ in this, is where the extra loss I'm picking up for them, because I'm not sure where we could be. Is it maybe week 3? Week 3 against Chicago, is that where you're differing? Are you giving Chicago or Dallas the win?
I got the Bears taking that.
So I have the Cowboys winning that one. Yeah, see, we must be different. So let's just roll through it real quick.
Let's go.
1 to 18. Philly
Yep.
for winners. Philly, Dallas.
Yep.
Dallas, you have Chicago. Okay. Green Bay winning. Oh, you have Dallas winning at home. Okay, so there's a little bit of a difference there. And then Dallas picking up wins in the next 2, week 5 and 6 against New York. The Jets, both New York teams suck. It doesn't really matter. And Carolina also picking up week 7 win at home against Washington.
I got Washington winning that.
And then so I have Washington. Do you have Washington sweeping Dallas? Is that what the difference?
I do.
Maybe. Okay, so it's a little bit different there. Regardless, yeah, we're 1 win away. We're 1 swap difference away, missing the playoffs, 9-8, 10-7. Again, a lot of mystery surrounding the team. Pickens obviously is a huge question mark. And then the offensive line, huge question mark there as well. Obviously with Guyton and Steele being maybe 2 of the worst tackle combinations in the league right now. And it's very, very hard to watch. Zach Martin goes out. You bring Tyler Booker in. If you're running a full power offense and a power run system, it's great. Awesome. You ask him to play swing, or you ask him to swing out and move as a guard, it's not going to work because he's just not that athletic. Some questions around the defense, especially the linebacker position. Brought over a couple of guys, but it's always the couple of guys with the Cowboys that is just like the committee thing just never, ever works out. And I'm curious to see how all this kind of falls into place, because it never works. Overshown is where we'll see where he's at the beginning of the season, because he's consistently getting hurt. But that linebacker position is going to be the biggest question. We went into the offseason with how are we going to run the ball and who's going to stop the run? And we're exiting the offseason as who's going to stop the run and who's going to run the ball. It's the same exact questions leading in and exiting out. There's no difference here, with more questions because of coaching staff. That's why they land at the 3rd in the division.
I just don't like that they had questions on the roster coming into the offseason, and then now the offseason's over and we still have the same questions. There's a running back question, although I think there's better bodies in the running back room than the corpse of Ezekiel Elliott from last year. And then
yeah, absolutely.
Like I said, it just depends on how the defense bounces back. We've seen Micah be a top 3 defender in the league, and we've also seen them just run the ball at him play after play and him kind of be a non-factor. So I think it really just kind of depends on, and he's an interesting polarizing player. He gets on that podcast. He's taking shots at people that departed the team in the offseason on Twitter, X, sorry. So yeah, we'll see. But at the end of the day, just pound for pound, blow for blow, I don't think they're as good as the other 2 teams in this division. And so that's why they come in 3rd.
Absolutely. Moving on to those guys in the division. 2nd place in the division, 5th overall in the conference, making the playoffs at 12-5 is the Washington Commanders. I mean, this team was already so good last year. You have the coaching staff in place. You have your quarterback in place on a rookie contract, and you bring in more. You can say what you want to say about Deebo Samuel, but Washington ran the 2nd most amount of screenplays in the league, and you bring in a guy who thrives off of that. You're not changing your offense. You're just bringing in a guy to play that position that you need. You bring in Laramie Tunsil. You draft Josh Connolly. And all of a sudden, this offensive line looks really, really good. And this is one of the best running teams in the league, bar none. And you're bringing in guys to make it better. And that's just on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side, you lost a couple of pieces. You bring some guys in to replace those. Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Wise, here and there. I think they're a little bit worse than what they had out there, but you're still bringing in guys to replace them. Dan Quinn is really good at what he does. I trust him 100% on the defensive side of the ball. This team is going to be really good, and the 12-5 records, I think they live up to that. Some of these teams, when we go through the records, I don't think live up to what the numbers show. I think Washington does.
Yeah, I will remain bullish on my guy Jayden. For those of you that have been with us since the beginning, you know that I've been on him since very early in the draft process last year. I think that you and me are going to suffer with a lot of regret as this season goes on that we didn't get into the draft process this year as much just because of what we had
Yeah.
going on in the home lives and everything. And we don't know the draft class as well, but I knew I was I was so sure of it with Jayden, and I do not predict a Texan style drop off for them this year. I think they'll continue
Yeah.
on. CJ Stroud was so good his rookie year, so amazing. I just didn't see the way he could follow up with it and be even better. The things I saw out of Jayden last year with the running game and the screen passes and the pop passes, I just think a lot of that stuff is stuff they can continue to do well. So just like you, 12
It's
and
still
5.
translatable for sure.
Yep. Fifth in the conference and making the playoffs for certain.
No, absolutely. And I think they're going to have real success in the playoffs this next year as well. If we're still lockstep on that second place, go ahead.
I don't want to spoil it, but if they're heading for the 5th seed and they're looking at playing a home game in Tampa Bay, you know, depending on who you have winning that division, I like the 5th seed team against whoever is coming out of that conference. So we'll get to that conference later, but I really like the Commanders to take that win there. And then once you get one playoff win under your belt, it's all just, you know, downhill from there. So.
Yep. Absolutely. And it's good for the team. It's good for a young quarterback to get that type of experience and the exposure. And yeah, I do like the Commanders there at that 5th seed for whoever they will end up playing, which again, not going to spoil it, but if you want to go ahead and move on to the number 1 for both of us, Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning Super Bowl champions, sitting at a very comfortable number 1 seed. I'm not sure how it would actually break up for the whole league, but they're tied for first in terms of number record wise between the AFC and the NFC. But for the NFC alone, they're the number 1 seed, bar none, and sitting at 15-2, pretty comfortably.
Okay. I got them at the number 1 seed as well. I got them at 13-4. So I have them dropping games against the Kansas City Chiefs early on in the season.
So do I.
Week 2.
Yep.
I have them losing a game in week 11 against the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
I have them losing to the Buffalo Bills in week 17.
Okay.
And I'm confused as to where their other loss is. Please hold. My eyesight's terrible. Oh, that's because it's Green Bay. I have them losing a game to Green Bay.
Okay. I have them losing week 16 against Washington and then week 2 in Kansas City. Those are my 2 losses. My thought process for the post-bye week, first of all, it's the extra week of preparation. And number 2, they're built for any type of cold weather or the run game that you're going to need to play in Green Bay. They're built for that sort of thing. The week 11 win I have against Detroit totally comes up to questions about the health for the Lions. Is I'm not sure how healthy they're going to be coming in. Their defensive line specifically is going to be coming into that game. They've had some health questions before. Obviously, let's see where Hutchinson is. Aleem McNeil had some issues last year staying healthy. So as soon as those guys kind of went out, that whole run game and their pass rush kind of went out the window a lot of the times, where that's when we saw Terrion Arnold having to hold a lot of the times in his rookie year and his struggles. Even though he was a good corner, he still had major struggles, and it was because that pass rush wasn't there. So that's really where a lot of my concerns are. The Buffalo-Philly game is a coin toss. You could probably give it to Buffalo just because they're at home, but I ultimately gave it to Philly.
Yeah, the first time I did this, I had Philly going 16-1, and I hated that just because Jalen Hurts gets suspicious at times. And I just think that there are games where he just does not play well and he doesn't do things well, but the team is so damn good that they overcome that. And if he has one of those questionable games against a team like the Bills, against a team like Green Bay, against a team like the Lions, those are games that those teams are good enough to capitalize on. So ultimately, I would put money on the Eagles to win the conference this year, but whether it's 13-4 or 14-3 or whatever the case may be, it's just so rare to see teams run the gambit like that back to back to back, unless you're the Chiefs. But they just destroyed, one of the best football teams we've seen of the last 6 years with effort the last time we saw them on the field, and there's no reason to think why they won't continue to play that well. So,
And they brought everyone back, all of their starter back for the most part, outside of a couple of pieces. But those pieces, like guys like Milton Williams, sounds like a big name. Sounds a guy, even you look up on PFF, his grade is really, really high, and he seems like a high motor guy who plays a lot. His snap count was pretty low. He was a pretty big rotational piece. You have two other defensive tackles that are playing for Philly. It's fine. You're okay. You don't need to panic. And same thing with the cornerback situation. You let go of Darius Slay. Well, guess what? You have two stud
Cooper.
corners sitting there, right? So you have Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Now, the real big question is hopefully they keep Cooper DeJean in the slot and you let the rotation of it's Adoree Jackson and Keely Ringo playing that rotation of the other corner spot. You let Cooper DeJean play in the slot. That's where he needs to go. That's where he excelled last year. That is what made him one of the best corners graded, bar none, last year. Keep him there. Don't play him on the outside. There's some questions about some of the slot corner stuff going on in the league. Jacksonville, I can point that one out instantly. Don't know what the hell they're going to do with the Jerry Jones versus Jordan Lewis thing, because Jerry Jones, you don't want to play on the outside. So keep Cooper in the slot. Leave it at that. Let the two other guys kind of battle it out and have rotational. So
Let them
outside of
cook,
that,
baby.
this team is really
Let them
good.
cook.
Yeah, this team is really good, and they brought back all their pieces. No reason why they can't have another huge year.
You heard it here first, guys. The Dallas Cowboys fan loves the Eagles.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, we can go ahead and move on now. Let's go to move on to the NFC West.